Hello, my crafty friends. It's Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations, and today I'm going to bring you 2 cards and a snow globe from the recent Simon Says Stamp card kit. So I have taken the distress flakes that came in the kit, and I have used my alcohol ink, and mine was stone washed, and I dyed those. I just put them in this little glass jar and put a few drops of the alcohol ink and swirl them around and let them dry, and then I'm going to take some of them straight from the container with my little spoon and put them in the snow globe. And then I had some other glitter on hand that I'm going to add a couple of scoops of that in, and then I'll take some loose glitter. I really wished I had like a little Christmas tree or a little snowman figure that I could have glued to the base of this and then had all of the glitter move around it, but for now I decided just to glue it down so I can have a little mini snow globe sitting on my craft desk that I can shake. So I just took some of the multi-medium matte adhesive from Ranger, and I'm putting that in the base, and then I'm going to adhere those two together, and then I'll show you just a second what that looks like when you give it a shake. So if you had a little figure you could put in there, I think it would be extremely, extremely cute. So my next project is going to be a shaker card. So I have taken my dies here from Brutus Monroe, and I've made this label out of some of the Tonic mirror craft cardstock. It's craft on the back and this pretty blue on the front. So I am going to take from the Snow Builder stamp set the Sentiment Warm Wishes, and I am going to heat emboss that in the lower right hand corner. I'm going to use my Misty. I'm going to stamp that with Versamark ink, and then I am going to coat that with some alabaster white embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and then I'm going to heat set that until that is smooth and melted. So I thought I would do a shaker card. I enjoy them. I don't always love how they turn out for me for some reason. My original intention for this card actually was going to be the no border shaker card that I've done in a previous video, but I figured I'd just done that, so maybe I shouldn't do it again, even though I really do enjoy it. So I thought I would go a more traditional shaker card route here. So then I'm just going to brush off the excess of my powder, knock it into my lap, but then get all the powder off of there. And then I'm going to take my regular tape runner and I'm going to run that along the back, and I'm going to adhere a piece of acetate to the back of this so that it can be a shaker card. Then I'm going to take my foam tape and I'm going to double it on itself, and then I'm going to put that around the border so that each of the edges are butting up against each other. Then I did it a second time. I peeled off all the adhesive off the back of my foam tape, and then I laid another layer down. So essentially it's 4 layers of foam tape when I am done, because I wanted to make sure that the area for all of my shaker bits was deep enough so that everything had a chance to move about freely. I don't know if it was necessary, but I do enjoy how it turned out. So I think you could do it with 1 layer because I used the distressed flakes, so they're kind of flat, so it doesn't need as much room, but I tend to overfill my shaker card, so I wanted to make sure that I had enough room. And I did cut some of this out. You don't need to sit here and watch me put foam tape onto the back of a piece of paper. You guys can figure out how to do that, but it is a double layer. So this is the Distress Flakes, and I have taken my silver mixative and added it to those and then let that dry. And I let it dry on that piece of acetate so that I could spread them out a little bit so they didn't all clump together. And then I'm going to take some more of the Distress Flakes right from the jar, put a couple of spoonfuls in there, and then I'm going to peel off the backing, and I have taken a piece of the pattern paper which came from the kit, and I am going to adhere that to seal in all of my shaker bits. So I'm just going to make sure to press that down and make sure it's good and sealed all the way around, because I don't want anything to be sneaking out of any of the corners. So I'm going to give that a shake, and then I used the die that came in the kit, the snowflake die, and I used the cardstock in this matching color, and I cut out a snowflake, and then I put that down in the lower left hand corner. And when I had flipped over my panel, I wasn't paying attention. When I put some of the acetate on, I got some glue onto my glass media mat, so I got that on the front of my mirror cardstock here, and it really showed, so I ended up putting another one up in the right hand corner so that I could cover that up. This project is going to be using the snowflakes from the Snowflake Builder stamp set. So I'm taking a piece of white cardstock and I am treating that with my anti-static powder tool, and I'm going to ink all of these up with Versamark ink. Now, these are really cool because they go together. I will show you in a minute, but on the packaging, there's actually dotted lines around the snowflakes that match each other. So they're meant to layer together. So I'm going to stamp this down, and then I am using sterling embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I'm going to sprinkle that all over. I should have stamped a second time, but obviously it's a Versamark ink. I don't always know that I didn't get a great impression. So this largest snowflake didn't get the best impression, but we are going to fix that, and I'll show you how in just a minute. So I'm going to get that all coated, and then I do heat that with my heat tool to get that completely melted so that I don't mess it up when I go to put the second stamp on. So we're just going to hit that with my heat tool, and when you're working with embossing powder, you can tell when you first put it on, it's very grainy and dry looking, and then as you melt it with your heat tool, especially metallic embossing powder, it gets this very shiny, and it's so fun to watch. It never gets old. I don't know about you guys, but I thoroughly enjoy heat embossing. So then I'm going to put this back into my MISTI and get the coordinating stamps that go for that. So my screen was a little bit off when I was putting these together, so I cut some of that out, but right here, so they have a little line outside of them so you know which ones go together. And when I did this, I'm treating it again with my anti-static powder tool. I added in the sentiment to the right-hand corner. And again, I didn't get a really good impression when I did this, so I'm also going to fix that before we're done. So I'm going to stamp this down, and I'm going to coat it with the same sterling embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I'm going to get that heat set with my heat tool. And then I decided I didn't really care for the way that I had lined up that large snowflake. I don't think I lined it up correctly, and I didn't get a great impression the first time I stamped it down, and the sentiment didn't end up stamping as well as I wanted to. So from my stash, I took some vellum and I cut a strip, and I am going to adhere that to the back of this panel to cover up some of the areas of that snowflake that I don't find the best, but I didn't want to start all over again. So once I get this heat set, that's what I'm going to do. And then I took a circle punch from my stash and just punched out some of the white cardstock that came in this kit, and I re-stamped the sentiment using Gina K amalgam ink. Oh, before we do that though, I did take my Distress Oxide ink in Tumble Glass and went around all of this panel. And I didn't do it smoothly because I wanted it to look rough and like a snowy sky was the look that I was going for. So I'm going to get that sponged all over here. I am using one of the blending brushes that came in the previous kit, which I'm really enjoying. These are very nice. So, and you just take it when you're done and rub it on a microfiber cloth and get off any excess ink, and you can use it for another color. My goal is to get the set where I could have one designated brush for every color. So I'm going to clean up my work surface, and then I'm going to get that vellum piece attached. And then, like I said, I am going to re-stamp the sentiment onto a little circle die. And then I also took the Lawn Fawn Stardust, I think this is called, and took a paintbrush and just splattered this everywhere. The shimmer on this stuff is just amazing. And honestly, I was lazy and didn't want to get up and find my white paint. So I went with this instead, but look at all of the shimmer that you get with that. All right, so now I'm going to re-stamp the sentiment and get that done in Gina K amalgam ink. I just used a stamp block that I had on my desk. I didn't bother to try to do the MISTI because I find with the circle, I never get it quite lined up. So if I had to stamp it twice, I was going to be tough out of luck anyway. So I just figured I'd do it old school and use the block, get that stamped down. I do let that dry for just a minute, and then I am going to take what's left of the ink from the Tumble Glass, and I'm going to use that blending brush. I didn't ink it up anymore, but I am going to get that down there so it's not so stark white and it matches, and it goes with that background. And then I will take some of my little foam dots, and I'm going to cover the back of that and put that over where I had originally stamped that sentiment, so that covers that up. So these are some projects that I hope gave you some inspiration from the Simon Says Stamp January 2020 card kit. I hope that you were able to get this card kit. I don't know if it's still available, but I'm sure that separate elements of it are, even if the kit is sold out. So as always, I hope that you guys have a great day.